Welcome to Dairyland Frights, the paranormal podcast that covers everything spooky, creepy, and mysterious in the Midwest and beyond. And again, my great guest streak keeps on going. I have Shaneen from Sweet and Spooky. She is sweet and spooky. We'll have to talk about that. And she is a paranormal investigator. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. I have looked at your stuff online and I was like, she has some awesome stuff. It looks like you have some fun and everything, and I love it. So
Thank you.
I have to start out. How did you get interested in this? What inspired you to become a paranormal investigator?
You know, I get asked that quite often, and I think the paranormal has just always been a part of my life. I had a deep fear of ghosts growing up, and now being in this field, I've kind of learned that there was an intuition to it, and I just didn't understand it. I got really into the show Ghost Hunters, and I thought, hey, why can't I do that? So I just started traveling, and it became a way that I could also have a reason to travel and learn about a bunch of different places. The stories of these places are amazing, as well as many of them are very important for history. And to preserve that history. I think the paranormal field does a great job in funding a lot of these historical places, you know, with our investigations. I kind of faced that fear, to be honest with you, and just embraced it and loved it and went with it.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I always ask that basic question, because everyone has a different answer. Some people are like, I was the goofy kid at the library reading book on ghosts, or, you know, my house is haunted, or my neighbor's house is haunted, or, you know, I knew a buddy of mine who was a friend of the family and we talked about it, or my favorite ones were always, when moving out of the house. By the way, it was haunted and everything, you know, it's like, you don't want to tell your like 4-year-old at the time, you know, child,
Exactly.
Hey, there's just crazy stuff and there might be demons and stuff. But when they turn 18 or whatever you deem necessary as a parent, you're like, yeah, it's haunted. Like, thanks a lot. Like,
And then
thanks for
everybody
telling
has
me
a
now.
story once it's open, right? Once they open
Yes.
that lid, they're all like, and I experienced this, and then I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So let's get
definitely.
right to it. Let's talk about do you remember your first paranormal experience and what happened?
Yes, my first paranormal experience that really had an effect on me. I was at my house, which is odd because my house isn't haunted, or my childhood home, and I just immediately felt a presence and it creeped me out so much. I got out of that shower so fast, I don't even think I rinsed out my hair completely. And I went into my room and my ceiling fan just started going berserk. It would go fast, 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 and then slow, slow, slow,
Yeah.
fast, fast, fast. And then I had an old TV in my room, the kind that you actually had to get up and change the channels. And it turned to channel 6 and then left another 6 and a dash on there. Freaked me out.
Yeah.
Ran out, was terrified, but I had a friend come over who was psychic, and they explained to me it was someone that kind of just clung to my energy and came home and decided that they just wanted to play a trick on me. It was nothing to be afraid of. It was like a adolescent teenager that was like, oh, this girl can sense my presence. Let me have some fun. So that also gave me a better understanding, you know, where I'm at now when I investigate. Just because something presents itself dark doesn't mean that it is. They may just be having a laugh at you.
Exactly. I love that because, again, hey, ghosts were people once, just like us, right? And sometimes they just want to have a little fun, like maybe you play on your husband or your children or, you know, something. You might just, I don't know, hide something from them just to be, oh, I don't know, honey, where your book bag is. I thought it was right there. And Mom, you know, come on. You know, same thing. Same thing. Right. Again, I always ask paranormal investigators, your present house is not haunted, you think? Or is it haunted?
No.
No.
I think I grew up in a house full of very psychic people. And
Okay.
I think spirits just clung to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like a specific haunting, no.
Yeah. Okay. That always interests me too, because one of the things too, teenage girls tend to attract ghosts, and sometimes not the best. So like your spirit, were you a teenager at that time, or how young were you?
I was a junior in high school,
There you
and
go.
I don't know if there's any connection to it, but me and my friends had just played for the first time with the Ouija board at my friend's house. And my first and last time. Now, there's a lot of people have different opinions and feelings on the Ouija board. So when it comes to the Ouija board, or, for me personally, I played with it once and I got scared and I probably won't do it again.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I always tell people, just what's funny is it's just you can buy it like a Target or a Walmart. You know what I mean? Like you can just walk in like right after this podcast and just
Barnes and Noble sells it. I was surprised to
Barnes
see it
and
at
Noble.
Barnes and Noble recently.
Yeah. And it's the
I think
weirdest
it's the
thing.
intention with it.
Yeah.
Because I've looked at it also as, one of the big things that people who are very anti Ouija board say, it's, you're opening a portal, you're inviting people to communicate with you, but so do we as investigators. We go into a location, we set up our equipment, and collectively with our energy, we say, hey, we're here to communicate with you. Now, does that mean any spirit within that area can come in? I just recently had an experience where a spirit who wasn't haunting the house came through during an Estes session. So I really do think it's just the intent you put with it, and also like boundaries before you do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's absolutely right. You have to go in with the right attitude and the right respect. Am I correct on that, saying that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would say also, well, just like with any investigation, when I introduce myself, I kind of explain where I'm at, what I'm comfortable with, if I'm okay with them touching me, etc. And it really depends on the location. If I'm investigating a jail, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling those spirits there, I don't want them to touch me.
Yeah.
If it's a child ghost, feel free.
Right. Right. And that leads me to my next question with that. First of all, that's amazing. I've spoke to a number of female investigators, and they've had their hair pulled. They have been pushed. They have been pinched in areas that maybe you shouldn't pinch. Just to be honest, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever had a ghost that's been a little bit, I hate to say,
handsy or inappropriate? Yeah, I was investigating the old jail in St. Augustine. Now, I don't believe I was touched, but there was a lot of catcalling coming through during Estes. And yeah, just during Estes, there was a lot of catcalling. And then I was investigating the Whaley House down in San Diego, and the spirit box was saying all kinds of inappropriate, not so polite things. Who I believed I was communicating with during his time period, women weren't respected. So I kind of laughed at it. Honestly, I'm like, hey, my first paranormal investigation was actually really fun. It was actually, I attended Amy Bruni's Strange Escapes in Florida, in St. Augustine. And we went to the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and that was my first ever investigation. And then we went to the old jail. So that was my first ever. And just the entire event was fun. We had a good group of people. It was a smaller event than her other bigger Strange Escapes. So it was a lot of fun. So I was down in the basement of the house there, and Adam Berry was doing Estes. And suddenly so are you familiar with the St. Augustine Lighthouse? Okay, so one of the hauntings there was an unfortunate cart accident. So they do get a lot of children's spirits there. When we were down in the basement, we were getting through Estes, these kids going, who's that? They were like talking to each other. And what I thought was so funny is that they go, they're old. And I was like, excuse me, but we're still fun, And then but they were intrigued by us, which I thought was interesting. They're just like, who's that? What are they doing? I sensed a male presence around the corner where we were. And so I went back there, and I just immediately felt like he was like this is where I hide and I don't want you here. So I said, if you want me to leave, just make a noise. And then he knocked on the wall and I completely obliged. I'm like, okay, good to know. I will let you be. Yeah, no, completely. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I think for me personally, it changes with every investigation and the location and who I believe I'm speaking to. Like I mentioned, if I'm at a men's jail, I don't want to be touched. Does that mean that they listen to the boundary? It's really at their discretion, right? We can't make the spirits do anything, but it at least you feel better stating it and what you're comfortable with and how they can communicate with you. I have at Gettysburg, which was interesting. It was about 2 weeks leading up to me leaving for Gettysburg. I was randomly getting really emotional. And I don't know if I was intuitively picking up on anything, but then I got to Gettysburg. And have you been to Gettysburg? Okay, such a good place. So I got there, and obviously I know the history. It's where, all this, the Civil War and all the history that goes with that. But it was also such a beautiful town, and the people who worked there were so nice and friendly. So I was kind of like, what was I worried about? And then we went and we investigated a house that was turned into a hospital. And we were communicating, and I just got overcome with sadness. I had to run outside and compose myself. And that's the one and only time that's ever happened. It took a minute. It took a minute to kind of recompose myself, but I wanted to we only had a limited amount of time to investigate this particular location. So I really wanted to get back in. But yeah, it was a little disconcerting because it was a good cry, and I'm not a very big crier. So I was just kind of took back by that. Yeah. 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 And they thought it was a good thing, so that was hard. I did get emotional at Pennhurst. I was in the infirmary, and I was in the room where they would perform dental procedures, but basically they would just remove the patient's teeth so they couldn't bite. And I got emotional, but I don't know if that was the spirits making me emotional. I have a child with autism, so I think it just hit a little closer to home because having autism in my life, I know that someone with autism, if they can't communicate and they're frustrated, they use other means, and then they would just pull their teeth because they were understaffed and didn't have the ability to ensure everyone's safety, to be honest. So it was really, really sad. That has not happened. However, I did just finish an investigation this past weekend. And this week I was taking a picture of my son before he left school for Halloween, had to get him, in the costume. And I heard a laugh because I said, "Look scary." And I heard a, ha ha. TBD on that question, because I don't know. I think I caught it in a live video too. So I need to go back and look at it and see if anything else is going on. But nothing else has happened in the house. Yeah. What's interesting is one of the places I went, they say is notorious for things following you home. I went to Preston Castle. So yeah, maybe something has. Very kind of depends. Sometimes I do it with friends. Sometimes my husband will come with me. I will never investigate all by myself, though, just for safety reasons. So yeah, as the opportunity arises and who can come along, definitely bring them with me. Yeah, exactly. And I always tell people I'm more afraid of the people than I am of the ghosts, right? And especially as a female investigator, it's very important you know who you're investigating. And if you don't know them well, to bring someone along with you that you trust. My scariest. I would probably say the Whaley House in San Diego. I caught a shadow figure in the parlor room. Now, the parlor room at the Whaley House is where the gallows would stood because it was originally the county's first courthouse. It kind of goes back and forth. We don't know for certain, but it said that Mr. Whaley had kind of a dark sense of humor, and he used the gallows to build an archway. And I did capture a shadow figure going by that archway. And I tried to debunk it so many times I couldn't. I had people walking outside, and I could hear the footsteps outside that would have casted that, but no footsteps were heard when I saw the shadow. Along with we got a lot of like growling noises. Yeah, which was the first during an investigation for me. That was I don't know. It was animalistic, but it was not any animal I've ever heard. Very distinct, though. And it's very active. I like to research because I want to know what kind of questions I can ask them to get a response, right? Like, conversation is a great trigger object. If you know that, like with Pennhurst, if I had no idea that children and adults with autism had been there, I wouldn't know to do things like line up a bunch of toy cars and see if I moved one, if they would move it back. Or just, I think knowing the history is important. Some people prefer not to because they just don't want to come with bias when investigating and understanding their evidence. But I think it's important to know. Yeah, I've had quite a few of those. The funniest to me is I was investigating the Queen Mary, and it was kind of an unofficial investigation because we were there for my birthday. And because it was my birthday, I had rented a really nice suite. And the suite had a living room area. And it was just me and my girlfriends, and we were just hanging out, drinking champagne, eating our snacks. And we just decided, hey, why not just put some equipment around? And we got a lot of responses with the flashlights going on and off with our questions when we were inviting them to party with us, partake. Like, do you want some champagne? Yes, flashlight. Can you smell champagne? Yes, flashlight. Can you drink champagne? No, flashlight. Do you miss champagne? Yes, flashlight. So I think that's really important too when you're in a haunted hotel or anywhere that's haunted and you're just hanging out with friends. Just relax and let the spirits come to you and interact in their own way. I mean, they could ask the same questions over and over again. And sometimes they just want to have fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they'll start hiding their keys. Yes. Again, depends on the location. Like with the Queen Mary, I don't like to use REM pods or anything like that because the staff all use walkie-talkies, and so they can set things off. Right now, the dead bell. I think it's simple. It looks just like a hotel bell, and the spirits can either manually set the bell off or they could touch it. It's kind of like a key to or a REM pod. Yeah, it's really fun. Really? Okay, I'll send you a link so you can see it. But it's easy because the bell's been around forever, so everyone knows you don't have to really explain how to use a bell. Yeah, I do. I think they're fun. To me, the cat balls are more like validating for me. If I have a piece of equipment going off and the cat ball's going off, it's fun. I do think with cat balls, it's important to really think about where you're placing them because they're balls and they can move, right? So the stands are a good investment too. Have you seen the stands for them? Yeah, they're just like a little platform that you can put the cat ball on so it doesn't move. So if it's slanted or stuff like that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. My favorite piece of evidence to get though is an EVP. And they're very rare. So I do like to have my recorder on as well. Both. Because I've gotten a lot of EVPs just not even intending on getting an EVP. Just recording or in live videos. I think it's really important for people who have the live video option. If you're taking live videos during any investigation or anywhere really, listen to the audio on those live videos. They will shock you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Try to persuade them anyway, honestly. I'm very proud of investigating and of being in this field. It's fun for me. It's a big part of who I am. So if it gets brought up, I'm very open to talk about it. And in those conversations, some have, conveyed that they don't believe in it, and that's fine. I'm not here to persuade them either way. I just like to go to these places, investigate. If I have great evidence, I love to share it. And if they don't agree that it's a spirit of a ghost in a picture or whatever, that's up to them. You know what's funny though? Most of these skeptics who have told me I don't believe in ghosts always have a but. But I did have this one experience that I can't explain, and then they'll end it with, but then again, I don't believe in ghosts. Okay. No, you do. You just don't want to, come full circle to that conclusion. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
So what they found is another question altogether, but simply based on a number of stories that swirled about the place, it was soon obvious that I could not refer to the McPike Mansion other than anything more than one of the most haunted houses in the city of Alton, Illinois. So this Alton, Illinois, by the way, is considered one of the most haunted places in America. The whole city is full of ghosts and different spirits all over the place. So it's pretty amazing. So, as with many other haunted houses, though, not many people know the history behind the once grand structure. So let me talk about that. We love history, right? So here we go. The house was built in 1869 for Henry Guest McPike. The McPike family can be traced back to Scotland, and Henry McPike's ancestry includes a number of patriots who fought during the Revolutionary War, including Captain Mose McPike of New Jersey and Captain James McPike, both of whom were at Valley Forge with George Washington. So again, these gentlemen go back quite a bit, of their family history. So James McPike, we'll talk a little about him. He came to west to Kentucky in 1795, bringing with him his sons, John and Richard. Henry McPike was the son of John McPike and came to Alton, Illinois as a very young man in 1847. McPike soon became active in the business and political community of Alton, and over a period of years was involved in a number of different companies, working as a real estate agent. I love this. Box manufacturer. You have to have boxes, right?
Someone's got to make them.
Someone's got to make a box. We don't think about it, right? We're like, oh, what do we put things in this box? Well, somebody made it, along with other things. He also became the president of the Horticultural Society in Illinois. His political aspirations did not get off to a quick start, however, although he did have an interest in the abolishment movement. So this is during, Civil War, during slavery. His father had been the editor of the Whig newspaper. So the Whig Party later became the Republican Party in the time of Abraham Lincoln, and was an early advocate of abolition of slavery. So, he's been involved in a lot of different things, right? During this, McPike never sought political office, although it was offered to him many times. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. So he's kind of an interesting guy. So during the Civil War, he was called upon to act as a deputy, and I don't know what this means, but provost marshal of the district. So I'm guessing he's just kind of running the district and everything like that. And this was placed him in a management position in the War Department. After this, he has said begun acting as a representative of many conventions and with the city council that would eventually lead to a stint as mayor of Alton from 1887 to 1891. So this guy was involved in a lot of different cool stuff, being a politician, trying to end slavery. So he sounds like a pretty good guy. So I'm like, I wonder why this place is haunted. Something going on here. So any questions so far before I continue?
Not yet, no.
Great. So the McPike Mansion was constructed as an Italiente, Victorian style. I don't know what that means, but Italiente, I just like saying that. It stands as one of the most elaborate homes, and again, I'll put it up there, in Alton. It contains 16 rooms and a vaulted wine cellar, and was originally built on a country estate of 15 acres. It's not bad. That McPike called Mount Lookout, okay? I don't know if it's like Mount Lookout or Mount Lookout. You know what I mean? Like, look out! Or no, it's Mount Lookout. Anyway, thanks to McPike's interest in all things horticultural, the estate was planted with rare trees, shrubs, orchards, flowers, and extensive vineyard. The owner became the owner of the McPike Grape Company, okay, which became known across the country. So McPike wine, I'm not a wine guy. Are you a wine person?
I do enjoy a good glass of wine.
Yeah. Have you heard of McPike wine?
I've never heard of McPike. I have not.
Yeah. So maybe it's out of business. There's no question that this is one of the most beautiful homes in the area. The McPike family lived on the estate for some time after the death of Henry McPike. but records are unclear about some of the dates. It has been stated that they stayed in the house until around 1936. So, wow. So they built this in the 1800s, and, this has been around. They lived there to 1936. But other records say that the home was owned by Paul A. Lassinger, who purchased the house in 1908 and lived there until his death until 1930. Lassinger either lived in the house or rented it out to tenants. So really doesn't know if these McPikes lived there for that long or they just rented it out to another person and had a different owner. But despite some inaccuracies about the dates, the house has been listed in the National Register of Historic Places. So that's good. Hopefully it will not be torn down. However, it also has been listed on a not so prestigious list. The Landmarks Preservation Council, Illinois' list of 10 most endangered historic places in the state. So the McPike Mansion is having issues like all historical places of keeping it, together and keeping it updated and keeping it, you know what I mean? So this might be torn down, which sucks. So the years
have tragedy.
Yeah, I know. The years have not been kind to the McPike Mansion. It has been abandoned and in disrepair since the 19. Since that time,
Wow.
That's crazy. And you'll see. I'll put like how it looked originally to the way it looks now. Okay, sucks. Since that time, weather and vandals, of course, have caused some pretty major damage to the structure. The house once had, this is terrible, had once a number of marble fireplaces and some very extravagant woodwork, but all have been stolen. They have taken the extravagant woodwork and all this other stuff. Windows have been broken, plaster cracked and destroyed floors, has deteriorated to the point they are not safe to walk on. And worse, the place is in desperate need of repair that has an enormous price tag. Estimates for the roof alone reach up to $50,000. So I don't know what you have to say about that. I mean, it's going to take a lot of money to restore this place. I wish people would do that, right? It's kind of sad that people won't. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
And he's a good investor that sees the importance of the history in it as well,
Absolutely. But don't fear. Some hope does remain for the McPike Mansion. It will not become just a memory. In 1994, Sharon and George Radtke purchased the house at auction as of this writing, which I got some article and information. It's like from the 2021, 2020, so not too far away. There continued efforts to restore the home and turn it into a bed and breakfast or historical attraction. And I do know that they have done that because, like I said, I've had paranormal investigators investigate there, and they would not let them do that, obviously, if, there was a problem. It has been an uphill battle, but they have continued trying to bring attention to the house's historical site with, like I said, tours and outings, and you can go there and investigate it. Sharon Radtke always believes the house is haunted. Her unusual encounters at the house carry much more weight, given the time she has spent there, that the claims of trespassers and so-called psychics and curiosity seekers who have come to the house simply because it looks haunted. And there have been hundreds of stories that have circulated about the mansion, from the chilling to the downright silly. But Sharon's claims that the ghost of Paul Lassinger haunts the place seems to be the most credible. So a lot of the stories that go with this place are people being pushed, people seeing shadow people seeing numerous apparitions, lights turning on and off, kind of the standard stuff of things being lost. To one of the silliest things that they talk about is, like, Sharon says, like, she'll talk to the ghost because, like, they'll move her, like, purse or her, like, clothes. Like, she'll lay out her clothes for the morning, and then she'll come in and they'll be gone, and then she'll be like, "Come on, John." And then she'll go to, like, the bathroom to brush her teeth or when come back, and the clothes will be back on the bed. And that's kind of sad.
Now, does it mention when the reports of hauntings were coming about? Like, I wonder what time period.
Yeah. So shortly after it became abandoned in the 50s. Now, there's some tales before that, but it's mainly from, what I had off of Reddit and everything of people. Oh, I was in there and I was messing around as a kid and I saw shadows. Yeah, but usually after the 1950s, and especially when the Lutkeys came in and started restoring stuff, like I said, things would move, lights would turn on and off, they would see shadows, they would hear voices, they'd have goofy stuff, like I said, clothes moved, purses moved, things moved all around the house, just because they felt they were messing with the spirits and doing the renovation and everything. None of it so far has seemed evil. It's just seemed like they sometimes don't want them there. Like, this is our house. It's like, could you please leave? Or could you please stop renovating this house? One of Sharon's claims, like I said, she believes that it's this real historical connection exists with the ghost and everything like that. So Sharon says that her first encounter with John Lassinger's ghost, and this is the main ghost she feels, about 6 weeks after they bought the house, she was on the property watering some plants and saw a man standing in the window, looking out towards where she was standing in the front yard. A chill came over her, but she noted that the man who vanished was wearing a striped shirt and tie. Sharon has a photograph of Paul Lassinger wearing the identical outfit. So that's kind of scary, right? To look in a window. Has that ever happened to you where you've looked in a window and seen a spirit kind of staring back at you?
I know, just this weekend, I was investigating a friend of mine. She owns a haunted Airbnb. We had just gotten there and we were sitting outside, kind of like messing with our luggage and talking. And I just saw a shadow go, boop, and that was about it. But I didn't see a figure. It was our full body. It was just a shadow in the back.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, okay, great. This is where I'm spending the night tonight. Okay, let's do this. I'm sure I'll get plenty of sleep.
Yeah, plenty of sleep. No problem at all. So also she's seen a ghost to a domestic servant named, she calls Sarah, that has been around the house, like getting ready for things in the kitchen. You know what I mean? So like, she'll come in the kitchen and see Sarah there, like making breakfast. And then, she'll be like, whoa, you know what I mean? And then Sarah disappears. She was, like she said, she was a little more of a presence with, than the other John, where he seems to be a little more of a major presence. One day, a man...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so one day a man came by the house and presented Lutkeys with some books that he had removed from the house 17 years before. One of the books, and this is interesting, had the name Sarah Wells written inside of it. So I thought that was kind of interesting, that they had Sarah and they saw her and then they got these books. This guy just shows up with these books and says, here they go. And they looked at them and it said Sarah Wells. So they believe, maybe she was a servant, but they have a pretty good feeling that she was a servant or maybe like a nanny, something like that. Sharon.
I was curious how they have these names for the ghosts or the spirits in there.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if they got it during an investigation or they did like research on the house and knew a Sarah had worked there.
Yeah.
I'm always curious how that.
Yeah, right. Where you've gone on, I've gone on certain ghost tours and they showing me like a book. Oh, this James, I'm just going to say James Madison, just pick a name. And they'll be like, James Madison. And you're like, huh. And that's his handwriting. We had authenticated and blah, blah. He lived here and he did that. And you're like, huh, that's kind of interesting. Now, this is funny. Yeah. I think you go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was like, Old Joliet the Old Joliet prison has a spirit they call Eugene. And I asked him if he liked that name. And he said, yeah. I asked him if it's his real name. He said, no. And I just want to know how they came up with Eugene. It's such a random name. It's not like a Bob or a Mark. It's
right. That's awesome. So you'll love this. Sarah has touched Sharon and actually hugged her. So by the spirit and her husband. So she's a hugger. She likes to hug people.
Ghost hugs. Yeah, that's fine.
That's all right. A little weird.
Yeah, that's it. I'd be okay with a ghost hug.
You all right with the ghost
No,
hug?
it's fine. I'm a
Okay.
hugger. Yeah.
Nice hug. Also, they caught the scent of lilac on the third floor. So lilac, as many people may or may not know, was kind of like the perfume of the day for women. Lilac
Okay.
smell. Or women, typically like to bring in fresh flowers from the garden and have lilacs around, to make the house smell nice. As mentioned, there have been hundreds of stories, which I can't get into all of them. There's just too many told about the house, and there are those who claim that a legion of spirits haunt the house. The main problem with taking these stories too seriously involves the fact that this house was locally regarded as the neighborhood haunted house for years and was a place where teenagers would come out and hang out and party. So again, like I said, you go on Reddit, you go different places, and TikTok, Facebook, whatever. A lot of the stories are just kids. Oh yeah, me and Jimmy used to party there, and we would see this female spirit, and sometimes she would yell at us, and you're like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, all right.
Yeah.
Maybe that happened, maybe it didn't. But I imagine if you're vandalizing this house, wouldn't you think the spirits would say something, right? Am I right on that?
Definitely.
Yeah. Especially stealing all that stuff. You think that would really take a toll on the spirits seeing this happening. So, in most recent times, the claims of mediums and attention seekers have further muddied the water. So McPike Mansion is a very interesting haunted house because unlike the Whaley House, unlike the Winchester House, and so on and so forth, a lot of it is, this could be it. The owners claim they've, like I said, been hugged. They have been kind of, stared at and looked at, but there's nothing evil. You know what I mean? But again, some people said there are a legion of spirits in here because of just the different things. You got to remember in the 1800s, they may have done a seance there. They may have done because, spirituality and seances back in the 1800s were a big deal. You would bring.
Well, also, you wonder what those teenagers were doing when they were out there as well, right?
Yeah,
or
right.
any of them playing around or.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And like I said, this is, considered the haunted house. It's one of the, the generic, when you're watching a movie and the little kids are riding by with their bikes, hey, don't go into the Bailey house. Well, this one is like, don't go into there. So there's a couple other interesting stories here, which I think is really nice. So some of these stories, again, like I said, I'm not convinced, but there is still more than meets the eye here. And one of the things I was looking up, and I found this gentleman who was a paranormal investigator who has taken part in some investigation at the mansion. And he has said, as a lot of them have seen things on video where there's filmed in the basement that remains unexplained. One investor managed to pick up a curious event that is worthy of mention. So there was this entire group was gathered in the wine cellar of the house. And it's a little step down below the basement, I guess. So it's pretty low down there, obviously, keep the wine cool, I guess. One of the group members became uncomfortable in the small enclosed space and asked to go upstairs. She was accompanied upstairs by another woman who was present, and soon the group in the cellar was waiting patiently for her to return. After a few moments, the sound of the second woman's footsteps could be heard descending the steps, descending the basement stairs, and then crossing the basement floor. The steps were followed by a short pause, and then the metal door to the wine cellar opened, scraping across the stone floor as it did. I don't have sound effects for there. Be like, there's my sound effects. Terrible, sorry. Yeah, there we go. One problem, though, there was no one there. Both of the women who were left were still upstairs, and no one had come down the steps. The entire strange incident was captured on a video tape, which I have been searching for. I will put up on my social media. It's kind of hard to see, but basically you see these people, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, great. And then you see the door go, and everyone's like,
I love
like
that.
Billy, Sarah,
Yeah.
Molly, whatever,
I love when that happens.
right? That's just unbelievable. Now, what you said earlier, McPike Mansion was featured on episode of Ghost Adventures entitled, well, McPike Mansion. This aired as a special in 2019 on the Travel Channel. By the way, why do they call it the Travel Channel anywhere, anymore, excuse me. It's not the Travel Channel anymore. It's the Paranormal Channel. Like, give me a break. The team
We get to travel to different locations.
Yeah, but it's like every time I put it on, it's paranormal.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
just call it the Paranormal Channel. The team of paranormal investigators explored the home and its property, which is said. I have not watched this episode yet because sometimes you got to go back and pay for things, and I'm like, maybe I'll find something. Who is said to be haunted by former inhabitants. The structure also appeared in the series Scariest Places on Earth. You know this, Shaneen?
I know the show, but I don't remember seeing that on there.
It was featured on season 1, episode 7. There you go.
Okay, I'm going to check that out then.
Yeah. There was a show, Fact or Faked. Do you remember that? Paranormal Files? That was, my God, that's probably 10 years ago, where they had like an FBI agent, a paranormal investigator, some scientist, and they would go and debunk stuff.
I think so.
It was on the Sci-Fi Channel. It's like 10 years ago.
Yeah, rings a bell.
Yeah, you got to go back.
Yeah.
In an episode of Ghost Lab. Ghost Lab doesn't sound familiar to me. Ghost Lab mean anything to you?
No, I think they have a YouTube.
Yeah, they must have a YouTube and everything.
Not sure.
So anyway, the McPike Mansion, like I said, there's been hundreds of stories related to how haunted it is. I had some paranormal investigators from Illinois who have gone into it and yes, have gotten EVPs, have been touched, but they said nothing demonic, nothing bad. They've seen things move. They've gotten some voices, on EVPs. Basically like, hey, what are you doing here? It's our house. Okay.
Sometimes we're their entertainment. I think a lot of investigators go to these places and enjoy the adrenaline rush of, having something spooky happen. But I think we're the real entertainment to a lot of the spirits. They are just checking us out, going, what are these people doing?
Exactly. I totally agree with that. So I have to ask, haunted or not haunted? What do you think?
I think it's haunted.
Yeah,
I do. It's got all those spooks, the vibes, the history, the reports. I mean, I can't say for certain. I'd love to go in there and investigate and know for sure, but if I had to bet on it right now, I'm saying haunted.
So if you ever get around to the Midwest, there's 2 places, and you can research them. Maybe you and your husband or family would love to do a little vacation. The first is Galena, Illinois. That is considered the most haunted place in the Midwest, and it's stuck in a time warp. And what I mean by that is there are buildings especially you love history like myself, there are buildings that have not changed since the 1800s. Like literally you go downtown and you're like, what the heck? Like, am I in a time warp? What's going on? Which I think is awesome. It's a very touristy town. I have to warn you. So if you go there, there's a lot of, okay, it's haunted, but it's still a great weekend. They do numerous ghost tours, like a whole mess of places are haunted there, including a lot of bed and breakfasts you can stay at, different hotels, different restaurants, different bars. It's just crazy. And it's a beautiful place.
And how do you spell it?
Galena, Galena. Yeah.
Okay.
Galena. So you could make a weekend out of it. Absolutely. And, if you brought your kids, I don't know how old your kids are, but if you brought your kids, they get have fun because there's places near their parks and everything. So, if you're investigating with your husband or maybe just going on a group tour, and a lot of the group tours are not scary. So if you wanted to bring your kids along, you don't have to worry about them being freaked out. The other, which McPike Mansion, is in Alton, Illinois, which is considered, again, the Alton, Illinois and Galena go back and forth for who's the haunted. Like, they have a battle. Like, we're more haunted. Now, I think Alton, Illinois is more haunted because they are built upon limestone caves and like a river. So if you know anything about the
Just all the
paranormal,
conduits.
yes, it's all the conduits. Exactly right. So they have a church there where a preacher hung himself. Supposedly
Wow.
they thought he might have murdered somebody. There's a murder there. These are just stories. Numerous ghost tours on there. Man, they got just buildings galore there, bars, hotels, beds and breakfast. People say walking down the street, they'll see shadow people. It's just that perfect conduit of the limestone and the water running through that makes it one of the haunted places. Now, it's not like Galena, that's more touristy and more for families on a nice little weekend. You know what I mean? It's got like the bed and breakfasts where you can go and buy like a handmade quilt at a local store. This is a little more like ghost tour. Like if you just want to go for, maybe head over there, do a bunch of ghost tours, go do a bunch of investigations, that's for you. So that would be more you and your husband or you and a group of people just to go for a weekend and just like, okay, I'm going to go to the church. I'm going to go to this house, go in the McPike Mansion. I'm going to go, this bar, whatever. So very, very interesting stuff. One of these days I'm going to get out there, and I've been to Galena several times and been on tour, and the tours are really great. They have really nice ghost tours.
Do you know how far apart they are from each other?
No, I don't, to be honest with you. And I've tried to, look on a map and see what is. But
so I wonder if it's doable to do both.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But I know Galena, they have a lot of locals there who have been living there for years, so they know everything. So when you go on a tour, you're not going out with like a teenage kid that's just doing it for a summer job. You're going out with someone who's lived there like 30 years, and they're like, oh, this bar is haunted by, the old deputy of the blah, 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 and he likes to do this and stuff. And it's really cool.
Most of the locals have their own stories too.
Yeah, and all the locals, you go in a restaurant, you sit down, the waitress will come up if she lives there, if she's not from over town, but if she's lived there, if you're lucky to get a waitress there, which I did, and she would be like, oh, yeah, you want to go here, and you want to stay in that room, and you want to go over here, and this place is haunted. And I'm like, cool, thanks so much.
Get all the info.
Yeah, it was really cool. And we saw some things. I did see some shadow people. I did feel watched at this bed and breakfast my wife and I are at. My wife found a little bit creepy in a room, but she's like, I don't know if I'm creepy because everyone keeps telling me stories or this room is creepy, because
that's always hard part.
Yeah, it's always the hard part. So
is it in my head or am I picking up on something?
Yeah. So thank you so much. This was awesome. I absolutely loved it. I hope you had a good time learning about the McPike Mansion.
I had a great time. So much fun.
Yes, and I loved all your
I definitely want to get out to the McPike Mansion.
Yes, definitely. And, anytime you would love to come on again, you can, and we can talk about more stories. Always love to have my paranormal investigators on. But for my spooky friend,
thank you.
Where can we find you? What's coming up? What can they look forward to?
You can find me on Instagram at Sweet and Spooky. Also TikTok on Sweet and Spooky, where I post a bunch of videos about places I've been, include a lot of the historical facts along with the locations. Coming up right now, I'm in the planning stages helping a friend plan for Gold Country Paracon May 1st to the 3rd of 2026. Nice. So it's going to be a really good one. It's in Old Town, Sacramento. I just went up there this past weekend, checked out Old Town, Sacramento. And it's kind of like those towns you were telling me about. It's just so haunted everywhere you go. Any building you go and walk into, there's some kind of haunting. So the history's fun, and we're going to have great speakers. It's going to be a good time.
I love it. I just have one more quick question. If I won the lottery tomorrow and said, hey, Shaneen, I got money where you can just unlimited checkbook, where would you go to investigate? You can go anywhere in the world.
Pennhurst. For sure.
Nice.
I love Pennhurst. There's so much to explore there. You need to go back and back and back to that location.
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that. Really quickly for me is Transylvania. Sorry. I just gotta
Oh,
go there
yes.
because that place is locked in time because they don't, I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
have modern things, but they still have like goat paths. You know what I mean? And like cobblestone roads
Oh, yeah.
because they're not as developed a country as, I mean, you can go to the downtown center, which I looked up, and it, it has Wi-Fi and, it's a nice little place. But as soon as you get past it, you're like, damn, this is crazy. Why is everything kind of look old, and which is great. And then of course I would go to Dracula's castle. That's their number
Mm-hmm.
one thing. That's where they make their money. That's the whole town's like economy from that castle.
There's a big hike to get up there, though.
I bet. Yeah. Have you been there?
Yeah, very sweet. No, my friends went I believe it was last Halloween. They went to Transylvania and went to
Ugh,
Dracula's castle and just kind of had a paranormal, I would say week there.
so jealous. So
Yeah,
jealous. Awesome.
they might be doing it again this year. I'll send you the link as well. But
Yeah.
Ireland would also be a place I really want to investigate.
Yes, Ireland. Yes, that'd be awesome. So again, thank you so
All the old
much.
castles.
Oh, the old castles. And a lot of them are just kept in great shape. So wonderful.
Oh,
So again,
beautiful.
thank you so
All right.
much. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. This was so
And
much fun.
it was so much fun. And stay spooky.